Hi, it's Wednesday, September 25th, and we're tracking Hurricane Helene in the Gulf of Mexico. This will be the main topic of the video as it comes north towards Florida, but I want to briefly mention we do have Tropical Storm John that has reformed off the coastline of Mexico today, and this is intensifying as it comes back towards the coast. We're expecting landfall sometime tomorrow along the southwestern coast of Mexico. You can see this convection wrapping around. An intensification back to a hurricane is anticipated. You can see here on the Hurricane Center forecast showing that intensification up to landfall tomorrow afternoon. You can see we obviously have a hurricane warning and tropical storm warning in effect across portions of southern and southwestern Mexico as a result. And as was the case last time, wind is not the only threat with this system. We're also expecting significant rainfall. Unfortunately, this is on top of some of the rainfall we've already had with John over the past few days. You can see a wide region of 300 millimeters of rainfall or more across southern Mexico, and some areas could exceed 500 millimeters of rainfall. Just looking at a very serious flooding threat continuing for southern Mexico. So stay safe as John comes in. That's really all that I gotta say on it, as the forecasting phase of this storm is still pretty much done, as we're pretty much close to the coastline there with the storm right now. But the forecasting phase is not done for Hurricane Helene, and we're going to talk about this one for the rest of the video today, as it has now entered the Gulf of Mexico as we expected today, and we're now getting more answers onto what is going to happen as the system comes towards the coast of Florida. When I talked last in my video, we talked about how the next day would be very crucial for Helene. The exact track and where it is now would play a crucial role in how much organization it gets today, but also how much intensification we expect as we get into landfall sometime tomorrow. The unfortunate news is that we have had the system avoid the coastline of the Yucatan Peninsula, and as a result, the system has not been disrupted really at all. And the system has been steadily building an intercore structure throughout the afternoon hours, and we're likely setting ourselves up for rapid intensification throughout the day on Thursday. You can see on this satellite loop, it's looking very healthy. We have the eye here northeast of Mexico, and we have strong convection wrapping around on both sides. We have had a little bit of dry air get in there today. You can sort of see that dry slot still in here, but this dry air has not been very deep. It has not been very dry overall, and the storm is still able to effectively mix this out. In fact, we're seeing where a dry slot was earlier north of the core, we're now seeing convection blossom up there. So it's effectively mixing all of this dry air out, and hurricane models do not expect this to be a significant hindrance going forward. And I wouldn't expect it to, because the system has an unstable air mass surrounding it that is not really suitable for dry air intrusions like this to continue for extended periods of time. It has what it needs to fend them off. Now, we have had recon just go in. They found the pressure in the middle has dropped about 5 millibars since the last recon mission earlier this afternoon, down to about 975 millibars, and they have found hurricane force winds on the southeastern side. Not seeing much evidence of stronger winds than we have right now, which winds are right now about 85 miles per hour, but we'll see what they find in the rest of the quadrants. Now, I do want to show the earlier recon mission that we had, because I want to point out how big this system is. You can see that this is a very expansive wind field, especially off towards the east. This doesn't do full justice of showing how big the system is to the east. We have tropical storm force winds all over western Cuba today, and tropical storm force winds are estimated to be about 200 to 300 miles east of the system's center, and this is going to be very important as we move north towards the Florida Big Bend region. Unfortunately, because the system has been able to develop its inner core structure today, like I talked about, we're setting up the stage for rapid intensification. And the issue is, this is a large hurricane. You can see it in this water vapor imagery. This takes up about half of the Gulf of Mexico. And the net effect of that is you're going to have a lot of water being pushed north right into the coast. Areas like Fort Myers Bay, I don't know, I think it's Charlotte's Bay there in Fort Myers, Tampa Bay, the entire Big Bend region, including Appalachia Bay. And we're now expecting 15 to 20 feet of storm surge in the Big Bend region of Florida. And another effect of the system building its inner core structure today is that we're now pretty much set to intensify all the way up to the coast, and models are very aggressive on this intensification trend that we see. And it makes sense. You can see we have a very, very healthy divergent flow up north. And we also have this now meeting up with a jet streak, that being an acceleration of winds aloft over the southern United States. This helps release some of the latent heat at a more effective process from the TC core. And as a result of this, you can have a more efficient process in the eye of the hurricane. And as a result, you can get more pressure falls, more wind increases, and this can rapidly intensify to a great degree. You can see this happen on the H-Wharf. This is one of our high-resolution hurricane models showing this rapid deepening, and this gets to a Category 4 hurricane. On this model, this is a Category 4 hurricane with winds of about 140 to 145 miles per hour. And we've seen an uptick like that in the Hurricane Center forecast cone today, now expecting a Category 4 hurricane to come in here. Now, in terms of steering, things are pretty much locked in. We have this upper low. This has not really changed too much in the past day. Models seem to have a good handle on this. This ridge has also not changed all too much. We're expecting landfall somewhere in the Big Bend region of Florida. And really the uncertainty that we have today is the usual uncertainty with hurricane wobbles that really cannot be pinned down until we're just out from landfall, a few hours out. Now we're going to look at the Hurricane Center forecast cone, and I want to see if they have their new experimental cone, and they do, because this shows the inland hurricane and tropical storm warnings. And you can see that their forecast currently expects Category 4 intensity as it's in the Gulf of Mexico tomorrow afternoon. And they do note in their discussion that they expect further intensification beyond this point. So we could be looking at a mid-grade Category 4 hurricane coming into the Big Bend region. And you can also see how expansive the wind field is, and that's really important because you'll notice that even though the system center is coming into Apalachicola, the entire Florida peninsula is under a tropical storm warning. The entire state of South Carolina and Georgia is under some form of tropical or hurricane warning. Western North Carolina, a tropical storm warning. Areas further north as well will also have wind advisories and high wind alerts coming out, as those will be not from tropical winds. Those will be more as the system is non-tropical. But you can see just how expansive the impact is going to be here. And like I mentioned with that eastern side, pushing all that water into this part of the coastline, especially here in the Big Bend region, this is a very, very susceptible area to storm surge that I've talked about over the past couple of days. And when you have a forecast of 10 to 15 feet, not even that, 15 to 20 feet of surge, as the National Weather Service is quoted in some of their discussions, that surge is unsurvivable. Now, we use that term to give awareness of how serious the storm surge threat is. This is not a surge event that you want to stick around for. I urge anyone in any evacuation order along the coastline, especially in the Big Bend region, to heed those evacuation orders. Get out while you can. You need to rush your preparations today, as conditions are going to start deteriorating tomorrow morning and early tomorrow afternoon, and a storm will be coming in sometime tomorrow night. So you got to rush them to completion today and get out by tomorrow. You don't want to stick around for this type of a surge. It's been a while since we've seen a surge quite like this, 15 to 20 feet. I think the last time we saw that was with Hurricane Laura back in 2020. That storm brought a very significant surge to areas like Cameron, Louisiana, and a lot of homes were completely swept off their foundations as a result of that. And what we want to avoid, of course, is loss of life. Like I said yesterday, homes, personal property, stuff like that, that can be replaced. Human lives cannot. And I also cannot understate the potential for significant storm surge in Tampa Bay. We are luckily avoiding the worst of the storm surge in Tampa Bay, but still 5 to 8 feet of storm surge is very significant. And like I talked about yesterday with that Bay Area, that water has nowhere to go but into land areas, and that's going to cause significant flooding in the Tampa Bay region. And you can also see as the system comes into southern Georgia, we'll also have an onshore push along the southeastern coast, and we could have some water rises here along the northern Florida coast through Georgia and South Carolina up through areas like Charleston and Savannah. Now, that's not going to be the only issue that we have water-wise. We're also expecting a lot of heavy rainfall with this system. across western Cuba, we could expect additional totals of 150 to 200 millimeters of rainfall as the system pulls away tonight. Across Florida, we could be seeing a lot of rainfall exceeding a foot in some areas, especially near Tallahassee and Apalachicola in the Florida Panhandle. And points further north, we could expect a widespread swath of rainfall of 4 to 6 inches, with localized areas well exceeding that. In the Appalachian Mountains from North Carolina down into Georgia, this is especially a dangerous situation for you all. We're seeing some totals on this map go towards 20 inches of rain localized. When you get that amount of rainfall in a mountainous area, that can cause a lot of mudslides, a lot of flooding in a short period of time. This is a very serious threat materializing for the Appalachian Mountain chain. As you can see here in the Weather Prediction Center excessive rainfall outlook, this is basically showing you the odds of flash flooding. You can see they have a high risk here, including areas like Tallahassee and Apalachicola, and there's a high risk in North Carolina down to just northeast of Atlanta. And a moderate risk is a very significant risk as well. This takes up a greater area, including areas in eastern Alabama, all the way into southwestern Virginia, and down through South Carolina, back towards the Florida Gulf Coast. And a broader slight risk encapsulating a lot of the Tennessee and Ohio Valley, which could lead to some flooding there. As we do have some droughts, so that may help a little bit with flooding, but if you get too much of it in a short period of time, that drought can sometimes help lead to flooding in this area, so that can lead to some localized flooding there. Now, the final thing I'm going to show you is the earliest reasonable arrival time of tropical storm force winds. Like I talked about, you need to have your preparations done by tonight if you're in the Big Bend region. Earliest arrival time is tomorrow morning for tropical storm force winds. By that point, when tropical storm force winds arrive, it's too late to prepare. Conditions are too dangerous to work out in. What I would plan for is tonight, get your preparations done and get ready to leave in the morning. If you want to leave tonight, you can. You may avoid some traffic with evacuations if you do leave tonight, but you can also leave tomorrow. The system's forecast to come in sometime tomorrow evening. You can see the forecast point in Georgia is 1 a.m. on Friday, so the system will be moving pretty quickly. We'll probably expect landfall on Thursday night. So you need to be out of there by at least Thursday afternoon, especially if you're in those mandatory evacuation orders. I can't understate the risk with this storm surge, and I'll show you the map again to close off the video. Please evacuate if you are in those evacuation orders, and I'll continue to say that in these videos, as storm surge is often underestimated, and it's unfortunately the leading cause of fatalities. Let's avoid that fatality count, and let's just not take risks with this storm surge risk coming in. That's all that I've got for today with Hurricane Helene and Tropical Storm John. I'll have another video out tomorrow as Helene moves towards the coastline of Florida, and I'll leave links in the description to the National Weather Service offices in Florida and Georgia and South Carolina and North Carolina as well at the top of the description. But stay safe in Cuba and Mexico as our system pulls out, and of course as John pushes through. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.